Hi, I'm Bran, and I love West Virginia Christmas movies.
I'm Alonso and Putana, and this
is the Deck the Hallmark podcast. Deck the Hallmark, it's his podcast.
Brandon and friends host his podcast. We hope you like this jolly podcast.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome back. It's Monday. Dan said I've had enough. We changed the whole format of Mondays around so that he would be here.
Yes.
Yet here we are.
What are you gonna do?
Now, we obviously we're not. You clicked on this episode and you're like, this isn't the White Reindeer. Hopefully, you got the memo that we called an audible. Alonso, you texted me and you said, basically, and I'm paraphrasing here. I think is.
Yeah, it might be too hot for TV. I thought, it's a terrific movie, and folks should check it out if you are ready for a hard R Christmas movie involving, like strippers and drugs and things. No shade on the film at all, but maybe not what we do here on Deck the Hallmark.
The classic Christmas tropes of drugs and strippers.
Oh, that old saw.
Yeah.
By the way, for those watching on Philo who are wondering what's going on here, I'm in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee, but I'm staying in a boutique hotel that is so boutique that this room does not have a desk and this room does not have a chair. So, like John and Yoko, I'm having to do this press conference in bed.
It's overrated. Yeah. The desks and the chairs.
Sure.
Why do that? You have a
Who
bed.
needs it?
You have a bed. You look great, Alonso.
Oh, thanks.
I think for now on you should do all podcasts.
Reclining.
That's exactly right. I'm excited to talk about this movie today. A movie that takes place in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
Yes, but
it's in the Rust Belt, let's say.
Was filmed in West Virginia, which
yes.
is hard to miss. It's very West Virginia in this
yeah.
movie. But I'm excited about this one, and I had never seen it. You had seen it, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And after seeing it, and this is a spoiler alert, I was upset that this wasn't on our initial list. So I'm glad that some things moved around to make this a possibility. But was this just a small theatrical release?
Small theatrical, went to on demand pretty quickly, I think. But I think got some pretty kind reviews when it first opened, and has always been pretty accessible through streaming, through even a lot of free services and stuff. So I think it's a movie that is getting a growing cult following, I hope. And it's too bad that Dan decided that he was over all of this, because I think he'd enjoy this one.
Yeah,
too.
I would like to hear his thoughts on this movie. Maybe I'll make him watch it before next week's movie, and he can give us a brief
little catch up.
But let's get into it. It originally premiered in West Virginia on November 1st, 2018.
And maybe say the title of the film, Brand. I don't think we've done that yet.
Feast of the Seven Fishes is what we're talking about today. Gosh, did I go a whole 4 minutes without mentioning the movie? Feast of the Seven Fishes originally aired in West Virginia on November 1st, 2018. And then it took a while to go to the rest of the world, or the United States at least, November 15th, 2019. And it went a little something like this. The movie kicks off with a projector showing us some old Christmas videos, and I'm an easy boy. I'm sold right away. Cut to people
home
buying
movies, not videos.
Yes, home video. I'm sorry. I'm showing my age here. Cut to people buying fish. A kid's painting. His name is Tony, and his family owns a grocery store, and he's expected to take over that grocery store one day. But his true love is art, and he just got into art school. And you'd think he'd be more excited about that, but he's afraid to tell his dad because it's always been the expectation that he will take over the family business. We then meet Beth. Beth is home for the holidays. She's an Ivy Leaguer and was expecting her boyfriend to join her for the holidays at home, but he chose skiing with the bros over Christmas with his girlfriend. She's mad at this, and Mom is like, that's guys for you. And she's like, but does it have to be guys for me? And she gets on her mom. She's like, you just want me to marry rich, blah, blah, blah. So she heads out. She meets up with a friend, and they end up going to a party. And on the way, they pick up Tony. Tony is like, wow, who are you? And she's like, hi. They're having a great night together, getting to know each other, and he educates her on the Feast of the Seven Fishes and educates, I think, all of us on the Feast of the Seven Fishes with a great visual to go along with it. The night comes to an abrupt end when he finds out that his ex-girlfriend Katie is dancing at a club. So, not quite the stripping of the other movie.
True, yes.
But when that popped up, I was like, well, what have we done? What have we done?
There's just no getting away from it.
There's no getting away from the stripping.
It's Christmas.
It's Christmas. And so he still feels responsible for her, and so he goes down to try to stop her. Katie is still very much in love with Tony and is just basically doing anything to get his attention and to get him back into her life, and he's like, it's not gonna work. He does get punched, though, so that's tough. Expecting Beth to want the night to be over after that whole incident, he's like, y'all can just drop me off, but she's like, we should keep talking, we should keep hanging. They end up taking a walk and end up at Tony's grandparents' shed, where all good nights end. And he's using that shed as an art studio. He shows her some of his art, and she is very impressed by this. She's like, you gotta go for your dream. You gotta go to art school. And she's just baffled at the fact that he is basically forced to run the store regardless of what he wants. They end up falling asleep in the recliners. It's all above board. They are found in the studio the next morning by Tony's great-grandmother, who is outraged by Tony bringing home a non-Italian girl. Tony's uncle Frankie gives her a ride home and encourages her to come to the Feast of the Seven Fishes dinner. And she's
Beth,
like,
not the grandmother.
Well, who is it?
You said her, and I just wanted to make sure we were clear.
Right. Sorry. Yes, Beth. We're talking about Beth. We've segued back to Beth. Great-grandma's already going to be there. So Beth is like, are you sure that I should come? And he's like, yeah, it's going to be awesome. And so she does show up early, and she helps with the cooking and surprises Tony when he shows up. The dinner is a big hit. Beth is having a great time. When the opportunity comes and for Tony's great-grandma to go to midnight mass, she asks Beth to give her a ride, and they have a bit of a conversation about why she's reluctant about Beth, and Beth is basically like, whether anyone comes from money or not, they would be lucky to be with Tony, and she's like, I agree with that. They go back, and Tony and Beth talk outside about how much she's loved being a part of this big feast, and they're about to kiss when her boyfriend ends up showing up. After hearing how he talks to her, Tony punches him in the face. Yeah! She gets to the car with him, the ex-boyfriend, or the boyfriend, I guess, current boyfriend. And Mom is there, too. Mom was all a part of this. Tony is now really sad. When Beth gets back home, her boyfriend kind of apologizes, I guess, kind of, and says it's time to start planning our future. The sun rises. It's Christmas morning. There's a knock at the door, and it's Katie. She gives him back his jacket and tells him that she's finally ready to move on. Inside, he tells his grandpa that he wants to go to art school, and his grandpa basically says the whole reason why we came here and started this store was that hopefully we wouldn't always just be stagnant. We would continue to move and grow, and so I think that you should tell your father about what you want to do. He might surprise you. He goes outside to take out the trash. Beth is there. She starts to say that she's sorry, but they just end up kissing big ones, and that, my friends, was Feast of the Seven Fishes. We did it. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to break this movie down here on Deck the Hallmark. We're back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Deck the Hallmark. It's Monday. Monday fun day. Still technically July, although it does feel like Christmas in July is done because it's past
waning.
Yes, I think Hallmark's gone back to normal this week. That's really the telling sign of where we're at.
But
as
not
a society.
us.
Not us. We're still at it.
Right.
Let's start with the hot take where we share how we felt about this movie. We do not hold back, and I'm going to throw it to you, Alonso. Alonso, you saw this back in 2019, I believe,
Yep.
and you've seen it now. What are your thoughts on this movie?
I love this movie. I think it's really charming. I think it hits a lot of notes of immigrant families because I'm as somebody who's in one. My parents were both immigrants to this country, and the way that you bring traditions with you, and the way that in your house this completely makes sense, but then you have to explain it to other people. I thought that was great. The way that the uncles banter, the way that the great grandmother kind of is always dropping little judgment bombs, like just a lot of little things along the way that I found very familiar and recognizable in a good way, and certainly around the chaos of the holidays. And I think the leads are really charming. Like Skylar Gisondo, I think is a really terrific young actor. He was in Booksmart, he was in Licorice Pizza, and you have to buy this couple immediately being into each other, pretty quickly. And I think that's written and acted really well. So you do. I like the supporting characters like Katie and this guy Juke, who is sort of the kind of local font of wisdom. They wind up having more layers than you might have gotten in another movie. The period detail is spot on. People think the 1980s were all, neon teal and pink, and no, it was real brown. And this movie really gets that right. So I'm a fan. I like it.
I love this movie, and I'm trying not to have recency bias, but I don't remember a new Christmas movie to me that I've connected with more right out of the gate than this one in quite some time. I adored this movie. I thought it was great. I agree. I felt like the two leads immediately you're like, oh yeah, they're very much into each other. So a lot of that is just the way that they're looking at each other, and the little bit of awkwardness that happens when you first meet somebody, but you're and you're really into them and you're trying not to mess up. That comes across really well. The aesthetic of the movie is fantastic. When we said that we were going to do this movie in the Facebook group, someone said, is this the episode of The Bear? And honestly, and you replied back, way less stressful. And you're not wrong. It is way less stressful. Basically, it is that episode, way less stressful, and with a romance thrown in. Because it is the big family... just a chaos of it. But Jamie Lee Curtis isn't in the kitchen.
Smoking. There's no kitchen timer. I think that in the popular culture, the idea of the Feast of Seven Fishes is now associated with that episode. Everybody's just like, but no, you can actually do it, without wanting to drive a car through the living room.
But I thought every character played such an important piece in moving this movie forward. There were no spare characters. They all had something, even if it was just for one scene or two, like the uncle driving Beth home, and that conversation. Every character played an important part of this movie.
Joe Pantoliano.
Man, he's so good. He's so good. This movie crushed. I absolutely adored this movie, and I can't wait to watch it this holiday season with my wife because I didn't get to watch it with her this time around. I think she's really going to dig it. Let's get to all the feels. We're talking about what in this movie gave us those feels. Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, again, the period detail, as somebody who was, a teenager in 1983, I recognized a lot of stuff. The needle drops were on point, I thought. For a movie that's probably made with not the biggest budget in the world, their music supervisor worked some real magic because they got a lot of hits of the era in there.
Not to mention just the music in general, the score of it. The movie starts and you got that Springsteen driving rock vibe of and it was no vocals. That was just the score of the movie, and it was great.
Sure, yeah. I think you and I are always impressed by real snow, and this is definitely a winter in the harshest sense, but also winter in the best kind of Christmas sense, even though it is, the famous, joke about the concrete colored skies of that part of the country. But yeah, it really, it gives you this blue collar, milieu where people work in the mines or run a fish market or whatever, that didn't feel like it was, cleaned up or scrubbed up, but at the same time didn't feel like poverty porn. It just felt like this is where these people live. They're they're hanging up their Christmas stuff. They're making it work, and it all felt just very kind of lived in and honest. Like the people making this movie knew what they were doing and knew this place really well, because I think they really capture that. And I laughed so hard when, this is a throwaway line early in the movie, but it's so Italian, but it's also so Spanish. He comes over to his grandfather's house to drop something off, and the grandmother's like, "Are you hungry?" And he goes, "No, I'm good." And she goes, "I'll make you a plate." Like, you will always be fed, no matter how not hungry you are. They are going to give you food.
You're getting a plate. Well, one of Marcus Rosner's pet peeves, apparently. He doesn't like reinforced food.
I'll make a plate.
Obviously, the movie starts off with just the film, just like this old, like, early 80s vibe of these home videos, and then it cuts back to it during the actual feast.
Yeah.
And you see, I don't remember who it was walking around with an old camera, and it like is showing you what it was like. It really just puts you basically at the table.
Yeah, like
it was utilized really well.
Yeah, I think the grandmother's holding the camera, and then the movie itself like changes aspect ratio, and the color quality changes, and it's like you're seeing it on like kind of Kodachrome 8mm. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, I love that, and then I love the conversation with Grandpa at the end, basically telling him like, one, you should pursue your dreams. It's why we did this, but also your dad might surprise you. Like give the guy a little bit of credit, and I think we've all had that as kids, like assuming that you think you know what your dad is going to say about something. And,
no, absolutely.
You never know.
Yeah. And again, I think it really does tie into the whole the immigrant narrative is always like, we didn't come here so you could do the same job I have.
Right.
We came here so you could go to college and you could go be a thing, whatever it is that you want to do. And so, I totally bought that. And I think I totally agree. I think we all of us have that moment where our parents surprise us by what they're open to, and we just figure, oh, no way.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with the wait what and the what the Hallmark. Here on Deck the Hallmark. We're back. Hello, everybody. We're talking about Feast of the Seven Fishes. We've raved about the movie, and now it's time for the Wait What, where we talk about what in this movie made us go, wait, what? Do you have any, Alonso?
Not really. Like, at one point I wrote down a family tree montage would help, but by the end of the movie I knew who everybody was. Yeah. You do eventually pick up on it through context clues or dialogue or whatever. So, I think this movie is, there's no, like, big leaps of logic. People behave in human, recognizably human ways. So, I don't know that there is a wait what for this one.
To the family tree part, the hardest thing I had to grapple with was that grandpa is a grandpa.
Yes.
That guy is freaking awesome. And you see Tony's dad, and if I see Tony's dad and that grandpa side by side, I'm like, they're brothers?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I think you think the grandpa's another uncle, and then it's like, oh, no, that's the great grandmother, and then Joey Pants is the great uncle and not an uncle. But I put it together finally.
Yeah, and that was it for me. Just that grandpa was a grandpa. Aside from that, nothing, which is crazy.
I know. Well, I think we're the movies we're going to be talking about for the next few weeks here, like, I think are maybe better written than the usual made-for-cable/streaming Christmas movie. Just gonna say.
Crazy.
I know. Wrap your head around that one.
Do you have any what the Hallmark? Something that you're wondering about that you would like some answers to?
I mean, it's always the kind of default, but I kind of want to see where this goes. I think they're such a great couple, and I hope it works out for them. But like, I want to see what happens as far as him pursuing art, because that's always a real challenge. I want to see how it works out for Beth, like sort of rebelling against her parents who have spent their entire lives like grooming her to marry a rich guy, because like the reason that like Beth is from the town, but the reason that Tony never met her is because she got sent off to private school, and so like she's of that place the way that he is, maybe a little bit better off, but obviously the parents were like grooming her to be like, some rich guy's wife. And so I want to see how that plays out with the family, if they ever accept Tony, what a Christmas dinner with like her mom and the grandfather looks like, because, that mother's a piece of work,
Okay.
But yeah, so it made me want to see like, where are all these characters in 2024? I would love to know, and that's a good thing, that I care, that I believe in these people enough that I want to know, like how things go for them.
Right. I didn't really talk about Juke in the synopsis, but he's a great character.
Yeah.
A great character. He's one of my favorite moments in the movie is when he kind of looks back at the bar chair after a couple of things that happened, and they're like, "That chair's
Cursed.
It's a cursed chair." It was really funny. But he is this fountain of knowledge and wisdom, and he kind of helps Katie out of this rut that she's in.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, she invites him in to spend Christmas with her, so they're not spending Christmas alone. And I don't know if this is a purely platonic thing or if there might be something that comes of it. But I would watch a Juke Katie movie.
Oh, for sure.
The
Yeah.
scenes
No,
that they have together are great.
I think he's absolutely into her, and I saw that as the stepping off point to something else. But who knows? Do you want to be her rebound guy? There's a lot going on there. But yeah, I agree with you. Those are great characters, and I would totally watch a whole other thing about them.
There you go. We did it, everybody. Congratulations.
Woo!
It's crazy when the movie's actually good. Like what a
What is there to say?
what do you do? Next week we're heading not very far into the past to 2021's 8-Bit Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Excited to talk about that. I think that there are going to be some wait what's in that movie. But I think it's also going to be a lot of fun. And Dan should be back. Dan should be back. And
with any luck.
I don't think Dan has seen 8-Bit Christmas, if my memory is serving me correctly. So I'm excited to watch that with him. So stay tuned next week for that. And the good news, everybody, for everyone out there that was concerned about whether or not Ryan was finally going to get to talk about Snow 2, brain freeze. The answer is yes. It's happening later this week, so stay tuned.
Whew.
Have you seen the Snow movies, Alonso?
I think I might have started one once and then didn't get into it too much, but I'm open to it. I think ABC Family was sneaking in the occasional winner there when we weren't really paying attention.
They were. Maybe not those, but they were. But they were. All right, we'll be back next week with another one. Until then, maybe we're the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmark's a Bramble Jam podcast is produced by Aaron Shea. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on the Deck the Hallmark family, you can go to bramblejamplus.com. Deck the Hallmark is presented by Philo TV. For a free trial of Philo, go to philo.tv/DTH.
All right, buddy.